path of no return. Some ships were meant to burn. But once you felt pride, demons arise. And childhood friends, some fade and some die. Subliminal minds know your doubt, well, your doubts, oh, it's on you to stay or go. I always thought that life would be just like a dream, a fantasy, you know. Oh, you know. I always thought that with success I'd find a piece of happiness, you know. Oh, you know. I'm going under. I'm losing color. Still clawing and climbing away from that devil inside. No more excuses. I'm making my moves. Can you hear me breathing, screaming? I'm still alive. I always thought that life would be just like a dream, a fantasy. I always thought that life would be just like a dream, a fantasy. I always thought that life would be. I always thought that life would be. I always thought. I always.
14 weeks ago, I set out on an insane journey. I launched this docuseries, How Hard Could It Be? A show about trying to achieve the impossible in different creative fields as a beginner with no connections, a very limited budget, and no experience. My hypothesis was that if you're willing to fail spectacularly, willing to put yourself on the line, that you could achieve the impossible in various creative fields with the help of strangers, now friends and collaborators, and serendipity. The sky was truly the limit. I tried to hit 1 million streams on my debut single within the first week of its release. I did not hit 1 million streams on my debut single. Surprise, surprise. Today's episode is a post-mortem. We're gonna look back on everything I tried. We're gonna look back on the budget. I'll talk about lessons learned, things I'd do differently. And then we'll talk about the future, both of my music career and for the show. So, do me a favor, go grab a cup of coffee, send a text to your friends and family. You're gonna need some time, because we're sitting with old Andrew, and we're gonna talk about this wild past 14 weeks. Welcome to the season finale of season 1 of How Hard Could It Be? We're gonna start with TikTok. The show launched on November 7th, but I feel like I really started to utilize this account in December. After getting a consult with a marketing team who specializes in music marketing, I was given a lengthy plan of how to approach debuting myself as a musical act and the show. I did not touch that plan. As the weeks went on, I started to get overwhelmed and I felt behind. What remained was me kind of just testing out a bunch of random stuff, an assortment of bits for TikTok that would hopefully help me go viral. Now, I wanted to go viral not for the reason you might think. I wanted to go viral so that people could know about the show, so that come January 23rd, I had amassed enough of a following to drive to all the DSPs like Apple Music and Spotify. I did not go viral. And honestly, I'm quite happy I didn't go viral, because it means that every step I took is one you can replicate, with one major caveat that I'll get to once we start talking about Spotify. Right now, we are sitting at 337 followers on TikTok. A lot of those came a day or two before I actually released my debut single, all thanks to one creator called Signs with Meg. Megan was standing at the 14th Street Union Square subway station, and she was holding up a sign saying, "Tell me your good news." I walked past her, and I didn't think much of it. I was rushing to meet a friend. And the further I got from her, the more it brought me back to days prior when I had tried my own version of that called Roast or Replay, and failed quite colossally with trying to achieve engagement with strangers and passersby. So just as I was exiting the subway platform, I turned around and walked back towards Meg, and I started chatting with her. Now, you all probably know Meg. I didn't. She has a large account, and she's been featured recently for spreading good news. And thanks to her post with me featured in it and her tagging me, the How Hard series account in it, I was able to generate a lot of traffic. So let me start off by saying thank you. I don't get to 337 without you. And I know this because the only videos that got any sort of traction beyond a couple hundred views were videos about dating and about me purposely using makeup the wrong way to see if I could stir up the pot and generate traffic. I had the season trajectory mapped out weeks ahead of time before the first episode obviously ever launched. I wanted the show to be all done in real time, and I think I was successful in that, although it caused some considerable headaches. In doing it in real time meant that I had to pivot a lot. And one major pivot was the fact that halfway into making the series, halfway into the season, I decided to introduce a second song. So I had the second song pop up, and now it was a core part of the storyline. And I was like, oh great, well maybe I can get audiences to sort of engage with this project even more, because they will contribute to the real-time nature of this. Help me choose my debut single. Well, that really didn't go as well as I was hoping it would go, and I didn't generate as much engagement. And so I then pitched it to Fia James via some TikToks, and we will watch the first one, and I will try not to die inside. This video is for Fia James. If you are not Fia James, hey, bye-bye. I'm Andrew. I'm Andrew. I'm Andrew. That sounds unnatural. I'm doing this thing called How Hard Could It Be, where I have these crazy challenges, and one of them is trying to hit 1 million streams on my debut single, which releases January 23rd. The issue is I have 2 songs I'm choosing between, and I feel like you have like really solid taste, and would love for you to help me choose which song to go with. Also, I can grow a mustache, for what it's worth. Kind to my friends, nephews and nieces that love me. At the time, I had like 20 or 30 followers on TikTok. It was a brand new account, and I was getting absolutely no engagement. Really, I was sitting in like the 30 to 80 view jail. Everyone talks about the 300 view jail. Well, when you're a new creator and you're trying something very specific, and it's not just like gabbing, and you're trying to push people towards something, I feel like those videos tend to struggle, and this one did. But you know what I said? I said, well, that one didn't perform well, so why don't we try it again? All right, I'm gonna save us all. I'm gonna save us all from having to sit through that. Okay. Well, never doing that again. We did the Fia James bit, that didn't work. I'm back in New York now, it's after the holidays, and we have a few weeks until the song is released. And I find that the more time I put into these videos, editing them and color correcting them, the less traction the video gets. So I start kind of speaking honestly to the camera, and my best performing videos end up being, you know, primer videos. And I make so many of these videos, and those tend to be the most effective ones. You have to remember that with such a small account, even if my videos go to all of my followers, that really amounts to nothing. So I'm working off of organic growth, these videos hitting people's algorithms. And I found that the more honest, forthright, and just personable I was, the better the video performed. But once again, the most viewed and engaged with videos were videos about my dating life. It was frustrating to want to market my song, but kind of having to avoid that. Because if you speak with music marketers and you watch what musicians are doing on their TikTok accounts, particularly, they're sharing their song nonstop. At the beginning of the year, Stella Lefty absolutely blew up with her song Thinkin' About You. Stella was a really interesting case because her success came with the most sort of low quality setup one would expect. It wasn't a highly edited video. She just filmed herself with her co-writer in the studio, just jamming out to a song that they had made a few weeks prior, and it caught fire. And then she just kept it sort of lo-fi. I'm probably using that term wrong, but low effort maybe. It wasn't this highly polished thing. It was very natural looking. And it forced you to just really focus on the vibes of the people in the video, the subjects, and the song itself. And I never really found my place with how to do that. And so I resorted to stupid little videos of me rambling like this. That felt most honest and most natural to me. And honestly, those are the videos that performed the best. I got a lot of engagement. I cannot talk about TikTok without talking about my release week fiasco. Day 3 into my 7-day challenge window, when discoverability was so important, TikTok went down. And it went down for what felt like the rest of my challenge window. I was just picking up steam with videos. I just released the debut single and people were reposting it, people were commenting on it. I was even creating winter storm specific content that drove people to click the song and listen to it on the DSPs, the digital service providers. And then the storm knocks out 2 data centers and TikTok is basically fried. As a user, you may not have experienced it as strongly as content creators did. I couldn't upload a video, and on the off chance that I was able to upload a video, the video would be either stuck in 0 view jail, which means that it's just not getting out to anyone, or it would be stuck in like a review process, which if you don't know, TikTok has like, I guess, an algorithm that reviews every video just to make sure it doesn't violate their policies. And that process typically takes anywhere from a few seconds to maybe like a minute if there's like a song or a sound clip that isn't registered. But for the most part, it's very quick. When I set out to achieve 1 million streams within the first 7 days, I said that I would do it all organically. I wouldn't pay for streams. I wouldn't pay for advertisements. I wouldn't pay for collabs. All like the classic things that one maybe should do, I don't really know. But I chose the organic route, and that was gonna come with considerable challenges. Again, particularly as I was growing 3 social media platforms from scratch. So the storm hits, the data centers go down, I'm stuck in 0 view jail, and I'm left sitting there, sitting here actually, storm's going crazy, trying to figure out what to do when the #1 platform for music discoverability goes down. I had created an entire docu-series in anticipation of my release window to try to achieve a goal of 1 million streams. And now I can't generate traffic to a place like Spotify because one of my main discovery pillars is obsolete. And I just about lost my damn mind. What made it even worse was that while I wouldn't know that TikTok would be down for a handful of days, long after my challenge ended, Monday, January 26th, and Tuesday, January 27th, I would also start having problems with Instagram. Now, those were really my 2 main drivers of traffic, because on Instagram, I had my own personal account with family and friends who could share my content. And that was a huge driver for me. I was going to rely so heavily on friends and family to push out my song and to repost my content. And I was fortunate. I have 2 family members, my brother and his wife, who are massive in the content creation space. And I'll be completely upfront about that. They shared my content to their stories. My brother reposted it a bunch of times. All of my siblings reposted it, but the 2 of them in particular with massive followings, that was a huge leg up, a massive leg up that drove initial traffic. But to get people to go from their accounts to my account, then from my account to their streaming platform, that's multiple steps, that's a lot of friction, and most people won't do it. So that's me saying, take all of that with a grain of salt, but know that that was a huge, huge, huge leg up for me, massive. Not enough to get 1 million. So how much of a leg up really was it? No, I'm kidding. So with TikTok and Instagram down, all I was left with was YouTube. And while YouTube was my hub for the documentary series, these main episodes, I didn't find as much engagement with audiences as I did on TikTok and Instagram. I remember thinking this, I was like, oh, screw it. I'm gonna just spend $100 on a TikTok post. I'm gonna promote it and it'll be fine. And now I was getting ready to do that and I was like, wait, idiot, TikTok is down. So it was very, very frustrating. It was my mistake. I built a plan around platforms I don't control. And that is sort of a meta lesson for anyone interested in the music business, really in the content creation world too. Figure out how to connect with your audience without these platforms. That is the hurdle that you have to overcome. I was incredibly reliant and expecting of all 3 platforms, TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, to be properly functioning. Why would I think otherwise? And then the weather made a beautiful shit sandwich and actually put some of those little toothpicks into it, cut it in 4 triangles, and just stacked it together like a nice little club sandwich. But instead of the typical club sandwich fillings, it was shit. And I was eating it. It didn't taste good. Creator-driven music marketing really is throwing everything at the wall and seeing what sticks. And I have a 100-page document of ideas that I didn't get to. And why didn't I get to it? Because of burnout. The plan that the marketing team had set up for me was a great one. The narrative structure was strong and compelling. I agreed with all of it. But between learning how to edit, making this song, getting all of the episodes shot and edited weekly, and then trying to post 3 to 5 times a day on short form, and then trying to post 3 to 5 times a day on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, I was getting my butt kicked. And it got to me. By the time the holidays rolled around, I was just like a shell of myself. I was looking after my brother's dog, and man, that dog has heard some shit. I mean, you know, he's not a licensed therapist, but he should be. He should be. I remember going to a party in early January and seeing one of my friends, Jess Kantorowicz, the front woman of Boys Go to Jupiter. And I just went up to her and gave her the biggest hug because she had been along for this entire journey. She was someone I felt like I could lean on and someone who was very generous and willing to share her knowledge with me about marketing, about being an artist, being a musician. I saw Jess at a party and I just gave her a massive hug. And I was like 10 weeks into this journey. And I looked her dead in the eyes and I said, I have an infinite amount of respect for you doing this professionally, nonstop, and still going. Now, I hope I was a little bit more eloquent when I said that, but the sentiment was the same, which is just like nothing but admiration and awe for how difficult this music marketing journey is. Because particularly when you're starting out, you're throwing stuff into a void. 99.999% of people don't care. You have to give them a reason to care, a compelling story arc. And the hope for me was that documenting this journey, using me as a placeholder for you, for someone who's always wanted to make a song, to see what it's like to do that and to get your song on Apple Music or Spotify and to be a recording artist. What that's like, what's that journey? When you're starting out and you're getting no response back, you're just sending out signals into what feels like the expanse. It's tough to keep going after a while. I definitely could have done a better job at repurposing my episodes and using the hours and hours and hours and hours of footage I have. Discussions with friends and family. I mean, I have this 1 hour-long video of me I label it on my computer as the crisis call, where I literally call my brother and my mom, who were together at the time, and I was just like, I need to play these 2 songs for you, because I'm thinking about bringing in a second song. We missed that story arc. The treadmill of content creation just overwhelmed me. Then it resulted in people commenting on the TikToks being like, what are you doing? Or like they had no idea that this was an actual documentary series. And so I had to sit down and make these long-winded posts that were like 6-minute long videos of me just being like, hey, I'm Andrew and this is what I'm up to. You know, I found this one vocal coach and I was like, oh, it would be amazing to sing my song with him and he could coach me on it. Or I saw this director and music videographer and I was like, oh my God, I'd love to collab with him. And I reached out to him over Instagram. And I reached out to a vocal producer out in the UK and her manager because she wasn't responding to me. And I was like, hey, look, I would love to work with you. I know you've worked with like Grammy artists, but I'll pay whatever your rate is because the content would be so juicy. Also, you don't even have to be in the video. It could just be me. No response. And damn it, if you take one thing away from this and you're on the other end of it and you have a following and someone reaches out to you, just respond to the damn DM. That's one of the many lessons I'm taking with me is like, if someone DMs me, I'm gonna try my damnedest to respond to them. I have few followers, they have hundreds of thousands, if not millions of followers, so I know, I get it, it's hard. There were so many possibilities with this season that didn't get realized because someone didn't respond. Professionalism, people. Now I want to spend some time talking about the numbers. The headline could read, guy tries to hit 1 million streams in 7 days on his debut single and fails spectacularly, and that would be a very valid headline. But there's an even more interesting headline at play here. I wanted to create a process that could be replicated by anyone who has a song in them. I believe everyone has a song in them, and so I show you how a song gets made, how it gets marketed, and what the release week looks like. And if you've been following along, you see every post. I'm not going to delete a single thing. Unfortunately, while the entire process can be replicated, the result obviously can't be. Now I say obviously for 2 reasons. One, my network is different than your network. And while my network is small, it has some people that have large audiences. But more importantly, I got basically half of my streams from Spotify Radio, the algorithmic playlist. It was a 50-50 split of people coming to listen to my song because of the docuseries and the journey I'd made and people sharing it, and Spotify doing its own algorithmic sort of thing with the song and the data within the song and pumping it out globally. And I mean globally. My song was pushed to Spotify users in 69 different countries. 69 different countries. 13 days ago, my song got released, and within the first 7 days, I got 5,100 unique listeners. 5,100. I know like 5 people. These did not come from anyone sharing it or a paid playlist or anything like that. These came from Spotify's radio algorithm, which is like the precursor to the big ones like Discover Weekly and stuff like that. These are playlists based off of an algorithm and not an individual. So Spotify processed my song, analyzed it, and based off of early data, sent it out to people all over the globe. And I mean all over the globe, from South Africa, Australia, Japan, Thailand, Brazil. Brazil was my second largest audience, which is crazy. The US was one. I'm from Canada. Brazil beat Canada. It's because they love my shit. I love you, Brazil. I got 10,100 Spotify streams within the first 7 days. 13,017 streams across all the platforms. I obviously did not hit 1 million streams, but the number that I hit is genuinely remarkable. 100,000 tracks are uploaded to Spotify every single day. 100,000. 87% of them never reach 1,000 streams, like ever. Reaching over 5,100 unique listeners in the first 7 days puts me in the 1%. I think it's like smaller than 1%, but there's no readily available data on debut artists within the first week. It's like, that's not a metric that's tracked. I really did want to hit 1 million streams. I think it's possible. I don't know how, but I think it's possible. But hitting over 5,100 unique listeners and over 10,000 streams within the first 7 days, I outperformed 95% of debut singles that have ever been released on streaming platforms. What you helped me do, and Spotify's algorithm, puts me in the top 5% ever. We got us 50% of our streams, right? The other 50% basically came from Spotify Radio. What's Spotify Radio? You play a song on Spotify. That song ends. If you don't choose another song, Spotify is going to start a radio for you. They're going to start a queue. Spotify deemed my song appropriate, and they inserted my song into this queue. You can't pay for this. We have 69 different countries. I didn't market to any of those. I mean, I really didn't market at all, I feel like. But I marketed to like North America, like English-speaking countries, Western countries, right? Anything past the UK, and I'm like genuinely shocked. And yet, you see us in the Philippines with 140 listeners, Argentina, Poland, New Zealand. I'm in Lord of the Rings territory with my song. Now, what's interesting and how it tends to work is that there are certain metrics you want to hit for Spotify Radio over the first couple of weeks. And if you hit those, then you get pushed to their bigger playlists, like Discover Weekly. I've hit certain metrics, like the 10,000 streams, the 5,000 listeners or whatever. The only one that I haven't hit yet is the saves. So I'm not asking you to save my song, but I mean, you've made it this far. So if you hit save on my song, it doesn't affect you at all, but it signals to Spotify, oh, okay, a lot of people like this song. That gives me an opportunity within the next week or two to be considered for their next playlist. I have no idea how I got onto Spotify Radio. I was just lucky. I was very, 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 very lucky. And that's the complicated truth about the result of this, is that without that, I have half the amount of streams. Good thing is, I don't have to worry about that because that's not what happened. I have 94 followers, which is not nothing, but in terms of being promoted to a bigger playlist, I don't have the strongest case. But it makes sense. I'm a debut, it's my debut single, I'm a debut artist, so it's not like I had a lot of pre-saves generated and a lot of engagement beforehand. I couldn't even generate my artist page. That wasn't live until the song dropped. So for my next single, I'll have a better opportunity to engage with pre-saves and kind of get the behavioral dynamics from audiences in a better position so that I have a stronger case for these bigger playlists, which is how you oftentimes get discovered. And that's the uncomfortable truth of this new streaming dynamic. It's hard not to look back and think about what I could have done differently. But one glaring opportunity that was staring me right in the eyes was comments from both my friend Marlo and a random person on YouTube. Marlo listened to I Always Thought the first time and in sort of a passing comment said, oh, it kind of sounds like Christian rock, which was hilarious and obviously not the intention. But when the quote unquote hater that I had on YouTube came about and said that this song is a Christian rock song, the only thing that's missing is like mentioning Jesus, I should have took that as a signal to pivot. And I think it would have been hilarious to pivot to the Christian rock audience. When you're making art, you think you are making one thing, but quite often the response you get is something entirely different. You never really know what you're making until it meets the audience. Once the audience does grab a hold of it, then it's on you to either pivot and go in the direction that the audience is taking it in, or remain stubborn, I guess. And I know that for all future songs, if I get a response like that, I'm just gonna go with it because I know why I made it, but that's not important. It's what's resonating with audiences. The musician Brian Eno has a video where he talks about genius. We've all heard about the genius, but a requirement for the genius is to have a scene in which to evolve and to parse ideas with other like-minded individuals. I never found my genius. I saw it from afar. I saw artists a few steps ahead of me. I saw artists many steps ahead of me, with tens or hundreds of thousands of followers and a couple of albums released, engage with their audiences, collaborate with fellow artists. And I think that's the one thing that I missed the most with this process. It's finding a group of people to jam with and to learn from and to tease ideas out with. This was very much a solo effort. It was tough to go on social media every day, and I'm not one to quickly compare myself to others, but to see these musicians who are trying to get their footing in the industry as well and struggling with their own demons, to see them collaborating with each other, I just felt a little lonely. And if I were to do it again, I would definitely try to cultivate that sense of community with musicians. And I did have these grand plans. I can list like 30 names of people I wanted to collab with, but I guess part of that was me limiting myself. And it's ironic that every video I posted was me saying to just do the hard thing, look like a fool, and not care what anyone thinks. But I guess when it came to this specific thing, finding the community, finding the genius, I limited myself. And that sucked. Yeah, I would say, why would someone with 250,000 followers want to talk to someone with 250? And I think that's the worst way to go about it. I know I can speak from a personal experience a few weeks ago I had with a brilliant artist that I met, and the minute we got talking, sure, we were at different stages of our musical journey, but that doesn't mean that the conversation can't be enlightening and it's a reminder that we all have a lot of value to add. The value proposition may not be as clear to us because we're new, but we have our own experiences and our own lives, and that comes with a wealth of knowledge and perspectives, viewpoints that are unique, idiosyncratic, and maybe not traditional to a given field. The beginner's mindset is a worthwhile mindset to adopt and explore in, because you don't carry with you any preconceived notions of how a given thing works, an industry works. And so you can swing for the fences and fail, but also succeed. I've never played a live show. I don't have an audience that I took with me before I released this song. In total, across 3 platforms, I'm at like 850 subscribers and followers. That's really nothing. Organic growth requires a community. And the quicker you can find that community, the easier the process will be. Not necessarily of achieving your goals, but the day-to-day. And that's actually the harder part. The achieving the goals is something you can't control. Once you release the thing, it's no longer yours anymore. To make a song, you can do it for $1,500, and that's writing, mixing, and mastering. Now, some people will be more expensive. Some people will be less, depending on your timeline. That also plays a factor into it. I should also mention that songwriters, I don't know if this is how they typically work, but for Ali didn't get paid up front, at least for me. Maybe that was a favor, but she obviously gets a considerable portion of the revenue from the song, and she, I think, owns like 50% of it. I think that's how it works. But yeah, those dynamics you just talk about with your collaborators, and then Jesse also gets a percentage as well as his upfront fee. I don't know if that's always mandatory, but I felt obliged to do it because he has helped me through so much, and between Ali and Jesse, they really held my hand throughout this entire process. And if you're lucky enough to find collaborators who will be patient with you as you second guess every decision, hold on to them for dear life. One thing that I've been hesitant to talk about throughout this season, I didn't want to necessarily distract from the story, but there's something remarkable about having an idea for a song and seeing it fully realized. And I had to face an emotional hurdle throughout this process of going through a breakup. And this kind of comes back to the Scenius idea. Art is a collaborative affair, whether it be with the audience or with your community of artists or with your significant other. And what was really hard about this process was I was sitting on these songs for a while, and I never got the opportunity to share them with people, with, my person, right? It's this idea of not wanting to climb Everest alone. You want someone there beside you when you're conquering feats, so you can enjoy it with someone else. And while that was tough to reconcile, what I did discover was insatiable desire to write songs. I've discovered a new flow state of just being at the piano and writing and finding that the world just gets completely lost. This whole process was, in a sense, a prolonged flow state. Also, my friends and family showing up, posting and reposting ad nauseum, listening to my song countless times. I definitely ostracized some people in my life. I know I lost a lot of followers on my personal Instagram account, but such is life. When you want to achieve something, you have to look like an absolute fool. Most people won't get it at the beginning. And hell, I'm at the end of season 1 and most people still don't get it. They don't see the vision for the show that I see so clearly. But that's something I'm willing to live with. And it's crazy. I look at the stream numbers and I look at the comments, and certain people keep commenting and liking my videos and sending me kind messages. I have nothing but gratitude. I hope I've made that abundantly clear. I have nothing but gratitude for every single one of you for following along on this journey. And hey, I guess I did find a Scenius. Ali, Jesse, other Jesse, Marlo, Jess, Kate. So now you're probably asking, what's next? What is next for How Hard Could It Be? HBO and Netflix are in a bidding war right now. So you want to know what's next, huh? Let me tell you.
When was the last time you meant when you said I love you? Think of before, let's transfigure the darkness and gloom. Avoid the paralysis that comes from analysis when you think of us two. I can't predict if this distance will settle the score. You say it's a game, but I swear it feels more like a war. Both stuck on the losing team. No, this isn't some fucked up dream. There's blood on the floor. If I were to look back, it's just me and you, in chaos and comfort. We had nothing to prove, but now you're so stoic and stale, unaffected while I'm left to fail. I'm foolish, delusional, wrapped up in rhapsodies, swept up in love but still blind to the tragedy. Thought fortune favors the bold. Well, I guess I was wrong, 'cause now I have no love left to hold.
What's next is I'm releasing my second song, Love Left to Hold. It's a song about breakups. It's a song about looking back. And according to one person on YouTube, very Broadway musical. So maybe I lean into that. I'll do a way better job of playlist pitching to Spotify and not do it 7 days exactly before, but give it a month. And I will build on your generosity and support and hope to grow the channels even further. While next season will not be about music, the music dream lives on. I plan on having a counter on my website, howhardseries.com. It's not live yet, so don't look at it. And that counter will stop once it hits 1 million. According to current trends, that's in approximately 13 and a half years. This is about us going on a crazy, crazy adventure together, where I tackle an assortment of impossible tasks. Now, what does this mean for season 2? Now, to be completely honest with you, I haven't decided which direction I want to go in. But I'll give you a few teasers of ideas I've been playing with. Season 2 could be in the world of fashion. How hard could it be to get into New York Fashion Week or Paris Fashion Week with my own clothing line? Even saying that seems just ridiculous. Or how hard could it be to get a Michelin star? How hard could it be, season 2, write a New York Times bestseller? Just so we're clear, I would have to write a book in a season, get it published, and get on the New York Times bestseller. I need a much bigger audience for that. I can't guarantee algorithmic success if you follow every step I took along this path, but I can promise that you're not disqualified from it. I can promise that by doing what I did, you give yourself a real shot. This whole project started with no artist profile on Spotify or Apple Music, no fully mixed and mastered song. Just this.
Before we go, it's time you are to say hello.
Thanks for watching. I'll see you next season.